Alive on the moon, Mounjaro, it's on the pen alive, with your host David Knapp.
Thank you, Clap Track, and happy Thursday night. How's everybody doing tonight? Is everybody awake? It's Thursday. Hopefully, we're all doing well. I'm Dave Knapp, man on the Mounjaro. That's why I'm here. You are on the pen. The Ozempic pen, the Wegovy pen, the Saxenda pen, the Victoza pen, the Trulicity pen, the Mounjaro pen. That's why you're here, and we're all here to learn a little bit more about our struggles with obesity, type 2 diabetes, GLP-1 usage, all the things. It is so good to have you here. It's so good to be back with you all every week and doing this on the Pen live show. We've got an excellent show tonight. The perfect guest for the perfect week. Dinosaur Monkey Farts Kim. Kim on Mounjaro. DMF Kim on Mounjaro over on TikTok, and the proprietor of the Plus SideZ podcast. If you have not checked out the Plus SideZ podcast, you are missing out. After this live stream, your homework is to go immediately there at the Plus SideZ. Now, Plus SideZ is with a Z. Hey, there might even be an emoji in there. I don't know. Maybe. Members? Anybody? Your job is to go over there, give them a sub, because they have a great podcast. It is so informative. Kim and the crew, the Janine, who's an OG Mounjarian over here, have put so much time, so much effort into it. It's such a benefit to the community. So please reward their efforts with a subscribe, and make sure that you do that after this stream. Welcome to the TikTokians. I know that there are those of you who have come over from the TikTok, and you are over here on the tube, right? That's very hard to get people to move from one platform to the other. And so one day, StreamYard will get their act together, and I'll be able to stream this right over to TikTok, and we won't have to do this bouncing around through the apps. But while we are jumping through those hoops, make sure that you hit that like, hit that bell, hit that sub. That's your job when you're here watching on YouTube. Hit the like, hit the bell, and hit the subscribe. And then make sure you smash that heart whenever you hear anything that you like. That tells the algorithm that this show is worth watching. So welcome. We're going to do things a little bit different tonight. Tonight, Kim from the Plus SideZ podcast will be joining me for What's Fresh and for our fake news of the week. And so that will be fun. I'm excited to have her because she knows so much about all of this GLP-1 stuff. She's constantly live on TikTok, answering questions from the community, giving of her time, giving of her expertise. And I'm so excited for her to bring some of that to On the Pen tonight. And we're just going to nerd out all night. That's what we're going to do. And so if you are into the nerdery of all things GLP-1, obesity, type 2 diabetes, then you're in the right place tonight. So thank you for being here. The first thing that we got to do before we bring Kim in, Kim, stop yawning. The first thing that we're going to do is we're just going to remind everybody before we get started that the best way to support this channel, if you want to support the work that I do at On the Pen with Man and the Mounjaro, is to become a member. For only $2.99 a month, if you become a member, you can click the link in the description of this video. You can do that right now. It's just the first link. Click that link. It's $2.99 a month. It gives back to what I'm doing here, allows me to continue to do this and bring this to the community. Thank you for those who are members already. You are the best part of what I do. Was live with them for about a half an hour before we started here, so they already know the scoop. So thank you for those who are already members, and thank you for those who are even now becoming members, including TB, who became a member shortly before the show started. So thank you for becoming a member, TB. It is good to have you here. And before we get into the rest of the news about the channel, I've got to roll that bumper, and y'all know what's coming. Y'all know what's coming. See if I can find it. Housekeeping. You want mint for pillow? Housekeeping is the first segment that we do every week because we just gotta talk about some things that are going on, right? And in doing so, keeps you up to date on what's going on the channel, right? So the first thing I want to do is welcome the new members of the channel. So we've got several new members this week. We've got Mimi, Ao, Sabrina, Matthew, BB, Rainbow Trout, KT, all up in the comments. AJ, those are all new members to the channel, and including PMAC, who just became a member. Thank you for becoming a member of the channel. That supports what I do here and keeps me going. So thank you for the memberships. Amy's here, Chrissy's here, Mel's here, Miss Bell's here, Cheryl's here. So many members in the chat. Thank you for being here. Another thing that I want to share with y'all. This is fun. So below my streams, you've seen for a couple months now that I've had different merchandise that I've kind of put together, like different things. So I have these shirts, this just phrase on the pen, right? And so I wanted to come up with a shirt that we could wear as a community just to kind of show, the fact that we are fixing what's metabolically broken. We're not sorry about it. We are on the pen. And guess who is on the pen? Miss T is on the pen. Look at that cutie pie in her on the pen shirt. Let me get some love buttons. Let me get some comments. Let me get some heart emojis. Give all the things to Miss Tapman, one of my favorite penners, in her pink I am on the pen shirt. Love it. Thank you for letting me share that, Miss Tapman. I appreciate you and all that you have done for me, all the encouragement that you have given me, and for repping the gear. Thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate you. So thank you to Miss Tapman. The other housekeeping notes, we'll kind of quick through the fact that we're doing a members only stride kick. That is well underway. Your boy has been not moving. All right, so I need some kick in the buns this week to get my arse moving. Okay, so that's your job. Kick my arse and remind me to get moving. It's so hard when you work a desk job. It's so hard. As always, the biggest super chat of the night gets to choose where the injection goes, right? So thank you though in advance for those who are giving super chats. I know I can't always follow it in the comments, but thank you for those who are giving super chats. The biggest one of the night, Chrissy, you got to help me keep up with that. The biggest one of the night gets to choose where I plug this bad girl in. Okay. And that's always the same. This show, as always, is sponsored by none other than On the Pen Marketing. If you have a small business that wants to take your marketing to the next level, look no further than On the Pen Marketing. That is me and my wonderful mother, Wendy. We have On the Pen Marketing. We do things a little bit differently at On the Pen Marketing. We got our own little strategy that helps small businesses grow. So if you're a small or medium-sized business, this is going to be right in your wheelhouse. And you can get a free consultation by clicking onthepenmarketing.com and just filling out that little form will get you all set up. On the Pen Marketing. If you would like to sponsor a segment, What's Fresh, Hot Channel, Housekeeping, if you would like to be the sponsor of a segment, you can hit me up at mounjaroman@gmail.com and let me know, and we'll work something out. That's mounjaroman@gmail.com. That's it for the housekeeping, I promise. So as I told you earlier on in the stream, we are doing it a little bit differently tonight. We're doing things a little out of order. And in doing so, we've got a hot channel to bring in and do these segments with us. It's none other than Kim Carolos, the proprietor of the Plus SideZ podcast. If you've seen the Plus SideZ, you may remember it from such guests as Man on the Mounjaro, Triplet Dad of TikTok, basically all the TikTok doctors, and none other than Rosie O'Donnell, Betty Rubble herself. So if you have not checked out the episode with Rosie, you'll want to check that out. That is a very, very cool episode, and you're going to give Plus SideZ a follow while you're there, but you're not going to want to do that now. You want to do that after the show, right? After the show. So without further ado, we are going to introduce tonight's
hot channel.
I'm such a dork. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Kim into the stream. Kimbo.
You really are a dork.
I really, really am. But I amuse
It's the
myself.
best. It's
Sometimes
the best.
That's all that matters. Welcome.
So, I'm pretty sure that's always what matters. So, hi.
100%. So, this is overdue having you over here. You had me over there like, I don't know. It's been a while now. Like,
I mean,
it's
like
been
a
2
month.
months.
It's been like a month since
Yeah.
Rosie. Yeah, because you were on. I think we filmed you right after we filmed her.
I think
because that was like
you filmed me the day before.
The same week. Oh, was it? Was it the day before?
Because you all were geeking out. You're like, we got Rosie. We got Rosie. We got Rosie.
We didn't know what to do.
Oh my gosh. That is so
great.
exciting. And, if you don't know Kim, if you don't follow Kim, it's DMF Kim on Mounjaro over on TikTok. It's the Plus SideZ podcast over here on YouTube. So I had to like laugh today because I always put together like a pre-show, I'd call it like an advertisement, just like, hey, we've got on the pen this week and this is our guest. And I always try to put like a cutesy song that goes along with somebody's handle, right? So Bourbon RX, I found songs about whiskey and bourbon and had a little, bourbon glass with a swizzle stick, Mounjaro swizzle stick. But Kim's DMF, why don't you tell everybody, like you've changed your name since I got over there. Tell everybody what the DMF is, where it came from, and then put my promo into a little context for people.
Okay. So my in 2020, when everybody was joining the TikTok, I was just like at the end of my rope, as most people were, and doing digital learning. My little boy was like 7, I think. That sounds right. And we were just out of our minds. And I was like, I'm joining TikTok. And I just looked at him and I was like, what should my name be? And he was like, Dinosaur and Monkey Farts. So that's what it's been ever since. And I didn't know when I was like in 2020, when I was like making little videos of me singing and stuff like that. Don't watch them. I was just trying to like lighten up Francis, and I didn't know that I was going to end up doing advocacy work like for any of this. I didn't know any of this was like coming, but at some point I couldn't bear to like change it because he picked it for me.
Right.
And then when the Rosie thing happened, I was getting feedback like, listen, the news is not going to pick it up because they're not going to take anything serious from Dinosaur Monkey Farts. And I was like, well, I guess I'll just change it temporarily. Like, and I'll kind of keep the, like I didn't want to like mess it up too much, you know? And so my son and I talked about, I was like, listen, here's the thing. And I explained, and he's like, only if it's temporary. And I was like, okay. But now I'm afraid to change it back because of all the bananas,
Yeah. Right.
Like, Right. So, because I changed it right when all the bananas happened, and I somehow didn't get bananaed anything.
So for the YouTubers over here that aren't familiar, over on TikTok, if you talk about GLP-1s, you get banned. It's kind of what happens over there. I don't know why.
It's new.
Everybody has our
it's
own
bad.
theories, but that's why we come over here to YouTube, where
we're not censored.
They leave us alone, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that story. I think it's so cute. I think it's just such a mom thing that you kept it in there. Even you're like news organizations
Yeah.
are talking to me. I'm dealing with big, healthcare providers, and I'm still going to leave the DMF. I love that. So I had to do that as an homage to your kid.
Well,
'Cause
that's sweet. I loved it. I showed it to him. He was like, "Oh, that's so good." I was like, "I
I was like,
know.
how do I
How did
bring
he
his
do
vision
that?"
to life?
I love
So
it. He thought it
awesome.
was awesome.
Thank you for sharing that part
Yeah.
of your journey. And thank you so much. If you're not over on TikTok, you can't possibly, unless you follow the plus sides, you can't possibly appreciate all that Kim has done for the community and all that the plus sides is doing. So I really can't stress enough that your number one homework is to make sure that you follow the plus sides over here on YouTube. Abby, thank you for being a member for 6 months. I appreciate you. And it is a really cute story. I love it. And Abby's got a little guy of her own, and so
Oh yeah.
probably about a similar age too. So
I tell you I mean, like kids are great in general, but like he's my only
yeah,
because PCOS. But he's like my bestie,
That's
So, there's nothing more important than my relationship with him. And so if I'm gonna
yeah,
keep some acronyms, like I'm gonna do we'll do
absolutely.
it.
Someday when he's
TMF
older,
in the house.
he will appreciate that sweet gesture,
I hope so.
especially when he finds out what a BA you were becoming whilst branding the dinosaur monkey fart's name.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that what you're doing over on the plus sides is awesome. What you've been doing over on TikTok is awesome. You've been such an encouragement to me as I've ventured over into the TikTok world. So thank you. So we'll get that mushy stuff out of the way.
All right. So, yeah, we are community. Like no matter what platform we are on, we are all OTP. So you know what I mean? Right. Like you got to help each other out. We really do.
Absolutely. So should we get into it? Should we get into some news? Should we nerd out for a little bit? All right.
Yeah. All right. I'm always up for nerding out. I'm going to be drinking my water though.
Yeah, you do you. I got one Fresca down, and now I'm on to my Diet Mountain Dew. I'm going to catch crap for this, but I got another Fresca on deck too.
Okay.
It's basically water.
It's late, people. Dave. it's bubbly water. It's fine.
Okay. So let's roll the bumpers. Anybody know what comes next? What comes next? What do we talk about next on this channel? Put it in the chat. There's an emoji for this. So let's talk about.
I don't know anything about. What's fresh?
What is fresh? Turns out a lot, right? I mean,
yeah.
This was a massive week. So we had earnings calls from both Eli Lilly and from Novo Nordisk this week. We learned, well, let's just talk about the Eli Lilly call first. I always do a breakdown on my channel of the conference calls. Ever since basically I started Mounjaro, I've been doing this. Actually, the first videos that I had over here on YouTube that actually did well, I was just covering a conference call because it's like, well, better way to learn, right? I mean, what's the company saying? And that's how I got out ahead of retatrutide because they were talking about that in the fourth quarter of last year as they were recapping the third quarter. And so I've been geeking out about retatrutide. So there was not a lot of new information about Mounjaro, about retatrutide or orforglipron. Most of it they had shared at the big diabetes conference. So I'd already run all that information down. But just a quick flyover, there was with Mounjaro, there was a couple of clinical trials. I think my big takeaway, again, I honestly can't remember everything about them off the top of my head, but I think my big takeaway from those is that most people are going to need to be on tirzepatide long-term to keep the weight off. That was kind of the big takeaway. So I'm learning that they do these studies for different purposes. Like some of these studies are to appease investors. I think this is a very investor centric one because certainly the payers are looking at that going, oh, so we're going to pay for this medicine forever. That's great. But the investors are going, great. They have to pay for this medication forever. So, I mean, I think that's kind of what that study was about. With retatrutide, you obviously saw that people lose more. Retatrutide, you lose more weight than on Mounjaro, and you lose it in like almost half the time, right? So, like 24% of your body weight. With orforglipron, I think it was more of a defensive thing because it's a non-peptide pill that is a GLP-1, and Pfizer had one too, and Pfizer abandoned it in June because it was making people's liver numbers go all wonky. So I felt like the Lilly call was a little defensive because people were like, "Hey, does our orforglipron mess your liver up too?"
Yeah.
Which is interesting because they were both non-peptide. And I think those are, not to go off on a rabbit trail. Hey, Hambone is in the chat. Hambone! That's my sister.
Oh. Hello,
every now and again she joins. But yeah.
My sister does that too. I have the same thing.
Do you have an obnoxious nickname?
No, she's just Samantha.
Oh, awesome. I love that you changed your name to Hambone. Maybe you did that a while ago. But welcome. So those were kind of the big things that they mentioned about the medications themselves. But then they got into some really interesting stuff about the vials and the quick injector multi-dose pens. What is Kim's take on all of that?
Yeah.
Because they've heard mine.
Well, yeah. Well, I riff. I would say, so I think this is all like, I've said it from the beginning, and this is kind of how I got into all of this. When everything was happening with the savings card and all of that was going on, and then there were shortages, and everybody kind of started flipping their shit. Can I say shit on here?
We try to avoid them, but yeah, that's okay.
Everybody's flipping their poo on TikTok because there were shortages. It was like the first time that MJ had experienced this, and I just kind of was like, oh my God, I'm seeing all these dots connect. What they're doing, like their go-to-market strategy, is exactly what I do as a go-to-market strategist for startups in tech. Like everything they were doing aligned. And I made my first video about it. I was like, this makes so much sense, right? Like this is what's happening. And then other people like from TechSalt, they were like, oh my God, it totally is. And then from there, I feel like everything just kind of snowballed. And now I have the Plus SideZ. But everything I've noticed about Eli Lilly in terms of their go-to-market strategy, I've never seen anything as beautiful and as planned and as well orchestrated as what they do. It may look like, in my opinion, like they've been a little messy here and there. No. I honestly, I see what they're doing. Like it was all planned. It wasn't like, oh, we didn't know, drop the ball. There's too much demand. No, you can't. They have so much data. And with these major, I work for a major company, but not as big as this one, but you have so much data before you decide to go to market with something like this. And pharmaceutical, they have so much data and so many people signing off so that you can have a $25 coupon, right? So the demand was high, and I'm sure that they were like juggling, but it was a digital card. So they knew what was getting downloaded and what was going to be used and how it was going to be used, and they could keep track of everything. It's not like this was paper back in the day. This is a whole different world. Like, Dave, like in marketing digital, like we got this, right? Like It's all being tracked. So when I saw your video about the vials, because I kept trying to think like, how are they going to meet this demand? Like they're going to have this announcement. And when the card had ended, I thought to myself, you know what? I really think that there's no way there's not going to be something in the background. Like $25 party is over, but there's going to be something in the background because you don't spend millions of dollars going to market to get a base to lose them because of months when you're about to launch the biggest drug of all time because of a few months while you're waiting for FDA approval when you know it's going to happen because they've seen the data, they've done the studies, they spent the money, right? And you just don't. And that's why we're seeing these e-vouchers. Right. And people are getting their medication for, $300, $400, $500 a month right now. Nobody thought they could. And not everybody is, but it's there. It's happening because you don't abandon your base. Right. It's just stupid. They wasted so much money doing that, giving the medicine away for $25 to lose the people that are stuck on it. It makes no sense. So when they started, I couldn't help but think like, how are they going to meet this demand if they're already having shortages again? Right. This is like the second time we've seen it. And when you came through and you were like the single vials, and I was like, oh, hell, that's what they're going to do, right? They're going to come to market because they don't necessarily have the medication ready and rebranded. I think for sure they're going to rebrand because they're going to extend their patent and they're not going to leave that money on the table. And I think they'll rebrand, but I think they're going to want to bridge that gap, right? And so they'll come and they'll say, okay, like the demand is really big. So we're going to have the single vials or have the multi-use pen, which is another thing you broke, which we heard from the call, and they're going to have that available when they get everything announced in Q4, whenever that is. And then they'll offer, because at that point it's FDA approved, Mounjaro as is. This is a prediction with no expertise. And I think they'll offer that. Then they'll say, okay, it's now approved. It'll be the same type of thing. You have, insurance come through, whether it's covered or not. You get it for like $200 to $500. I don't know, whatever it is, to try to get that base back. And I think what it does is it allows them to compete with compound. So compound pricing, like you would say semaglutide, I would say on average is probably like $200 to $300. And I think probably tirzepatide is, I always say it wrong, is probably $300 to $500 from what I've seen. And if that's the case, then they would need to come in right at that, because if you can choose to take brand, nobody wants to take compound. They want to take brand. They're only taking compound because of affordability and accessibility, right? That's the reason they're making that decision. If they can choose brand and spend $200 a month or $300 a month, or even just close to what compound will cost, they're probably going to do that, which means then they no longer have to worry about, going out, or I mean, I think they still will, about going over after compound pharmacies in terms of legalities and proving that they're using, tirzepatide as is and, patent infringement, because they can just take them out immediately with price and availability. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's really brilliant the way they're doing. Like that's sort of been like my thing on it. And it doesn't surprise me but I never thought, like, how could they do it? Well, duh, they make insulin.
Right.
Like, hello. Yeah. So, but I don't know. I'm like, the whole thing just fascinates me because I've just never seen anything so beautiful.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all so calculated. And so
Yeah.
like people have from a distance just been like, this is a train wreck. Lily's a train wreck. I'm like, they're a genius company. The same
Yes.
company that's giving us this genius medicine in Mounjaro
Yes.
is just as genius in their manufacturing, is just as genius in their go-to-market. I mean, they're all around. Eli Lilly is I'm a huge fanboy. I mean,
You are totally
there are other really good medicines out there, other really good GLP-1s, but Eli Lilly just has their stuff together. So
Yeah.
I've got, like, I appreciate what you have to say on this, and I think that you're probably right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Who knows?
but
Who knows?
yeah. When I hear somebody who's really smart come up with a theory, I
Yeah.
like to just be the devil's advocate.
Let's do it.
So the only thing that I would say to that is, like, Eli Lilly is so highly valued right now. And coming off of, and this is just the other part of the conference calls that frankly on the first couple ones bored me, but I was there for them. And now that I've been there for them, it's like, it's weaving a thread from the financial side of things too. So from the financial side, and I know less about financial stuff than I do about medical stuff, right? I'm a guy on the internet.
Same.
But but what I am seeing is, so in the first couple conference calls, it was like all of our COVID stuff's expiring, and these are investor calls, right? So they're talking to their investors, going, "Hey, investors, this is what we're doing. So keep giving us your money, right? Don't be spooked or be excited or whatever their goal is." The first couple ones towards the end of last year were like, "Hey, we know all of our COVID treatments are expiring. We know we're losing all that revenue, but don't worry, we got this tirzepatide, and it gonna be zappity," right?
Yeah.
So that's what the first couple calls that I listened to were. And like over time, somebody was explaining this to me. I don't understand. It was BJ Davis, who's I think in the chat. And he explained this when he was on the pen a couple weeks ago, but the valuation. So there's a way that they track the value, the price of a stock per share against the profitability of the company. And right now, Eli Lilly's ratio of that is like unheard of. It's off the charts huge, which basically means that the valuation of the company is so high right now because of the speculation of how big Mounjaro will be, right?
Yeah.
So my only thing that kind of, and I don't even know that it pushes against what you're saying, but maybe there could be a little bit of a different angle on it, is that especially on the rebrand side, that early on in the year in the conference calls, they were like, we're really weighing our options on whether to rebrand or not. And we both know, like, that's what Novo, their biggest competitor in the GLP space, did with Saxenda and Victoza. It's what they did with Wegovy and Ozempic. So that would be like the easy thing, because like you said, it extends the patents and it allows them an extra year or two on the patent of tirzepatide for that for tirzepatide.
Yeah.
But right now, it is so important for them to be as profitable as humanly possible with Mounjaro. Like, they don't have a choice. They now have to deliver the results at the level that the investors have valued them at, which is like over $500 per share right now. And so my only thought is, if they still may consider not rebranding, and that's against everything that I'm hearing. Like, doctors are texting me and they're like, they're rebranding. Like, that's the commonly held belief. So it probably is going to happen, but I would still say it might make
I hope they don't. I hope they don't.
I still think it might make a little sense from a manufacturing standpoint, from, it just may. I don't know. We'll see. If it's going to come down.
They've solved that problem now, right? Like, they've solved that manufacturing problem now with creating the pen, the single vials, and then having the multi-use pens.
They've created this. Yeah, they've kind of hedged against the supply thing. So like, that was something that maybe we didn't see coming.
I didn't see that coming.
But
not even. Yeah.
But it'll just be interesting, because the other thing that I don't think in all of this is, I don't think that we're going to see the vial presentation be that much cheaper.
You don't think? So here's what I think. I don't think that it's going to be cheaper. I think it's going to be smoke and mirrors. Shocking. I know this industry, smoke and mirrors. The thing is if they do the vial. So what we've learned from the plus sides, like talking with the doctors about compound pharmacies, all the thing. We have learned that the margins are ridiculous on compound, right? Because so if you think about it, like, if they're coming with vial, they don't necessarily have to make the price cheaper, but they can offer a hero coupon, say like $200. I'm making it up, man. I don't know what I'm talking about. And like $200, they're the hero. Now we have Mounjaro. It's available for you. Sure, it's in a weird ass pen, but how we are on TikTok. It's in a weird pen, but it's all cool because at least you're getting your medicine, and you know what? You're going to get it for less than or the same as you were paying for compound. It's brand, it's FDA approved. Here you go. Right. And this coupon that we're giving you, savings card, whatever, is going to last you for the next 6 months to a year until we come out with a new thing. And then guess what? We're going to have another one then. And whatever that pen looks like and whatever that brand is. And I don't even know if they'll tip the hat for that. You know what I mean? But I just think they're going to make it look like it doesn't that much, but their margins are going to be sick because they're not going to have to worry about the pen itself.
Yeah. It all comes down to how much it eats into their margin. And obviously it eats into manufacturing efficiencies. It eats into, they probably rely on a lot of third-party vendors to help manufacture that pen. So it eats into a lot of things. Matthew always has, like, he's a little bit newer to the channel, but every time he jumps in here, he's got a really interesting perspective. And he says single dot vials is for step pricing purposes. That would be interesting if they chart, that's what they do with the compounds, right? Like, isn't it generally what they do? Like, the higher in dose you go, the more expensive it is. I don't think any of the GLPs from the manufacturers are really that way, are they? Which is interesting, because people are like, well, why don't they make multi-dose vials? We want multi-dose vials. Well, that's exactly why, because they don't want.
But that's what happened with Ozempic, right? Because Ozempic is, you can get an Ozempic pen, and you can get a 2 milligram pen, and depending on what dose you're on, they have little ticks, right? Little bitty ticks that you can get your dose, and it's still So you could have a 2 milligram pen and have it last you like forever, which is 100%. Why going forward, they decided to do something with Wegovy where it's single use, right? They don't want you to get more value out of your medicine.
Right.
That would get into their profits. Like, yeah, you know me, I'm just speculating. I don't really know. That's just my opinion.
It's way interesting conversation, because it all comes, like, we're over here, and I think our biggest concern for the community is just accessibility. And I think the biggest thing to hang your hat on is, like, I don't know that there are still so many people without obesity coverage. That just underscores, the importance for things like getting TROA passed. It underscores, and that TROA has its own, its own challenges too, with the system, being broken, and, like, arguing with our employers to keep, like, this is one of the things that we talked about last week. Is I talked for so long, many live streams this year about the importance of advocating with your employers to add obesity coverage, so that you didn't get to the approval date whenever that happens in Q4 and be like, oh, I actually don't have obesity coverage, because there's so many people that just don't understand fully how insurance formularies work and how your employer actually picks a lot of what your insurance covers and what they don't. And the one thing I didn't foresee to tell people is to be on the defensive with your employer. And that's something we talked about
Yeah.
last week. And I've heard some insider knowledge from some really big companies as well that they're really looking closely at removing the coverage for obesity because they're spending so much. The plans are going to go up through the roof because of the expenditures that the insurance companies have on these GLP-1s, which is a real issue, right? Not that I feel bad for big pharma, not that I feel bad for insurance, like they're not hurting, but at a certain point it becomes untenable to just all of a sudden be covering 50% of your patients on $1,000 a month medication, right? So it's creating a lot of challenges, but that's why I focus so much on my channel about here's what's in the pipeline. Like, so it's a kind of a good segue into the Novo earnings call, because Novo right now has Rybelsus approved now at 50 milligrams per pill, which right now it's 14. And at 50 milligrams, people lost the same amount of weight as they do on Wegovy 2.4, roughly.
Right.
And that's going to hit the market in the second half of 2024 per their earnings call. The other really cool thing from Novo Nordisk is we talk a lot about on this channel, and I know you talk about it a ton in your live streams, the difference between Mounjaro and the other GLP-1 incretin mimetic treatments is that it acts on not only the GLP-1, which is the most prominent of like the incretin hormones, but it acts on the GIP. Well, Novo Nordisk has a GLP-1 GIP candidate that's going to begin phase 2 trials in 2024.
I didn't know that.
So they have their own version of Mounjaro. So, and then you can get into Merck and AstraZeneca and Pfizer and all of these major drug companies have candidates in this incretin class, whether it's small molecule medicines or whether it's polypeptide medicines that all act on incretin hormones, GLP-1, GIP, or in retatride's case, GLP-1, GIP, glucagon. And it's, and Natalie brings up another point that's really good too about the cardiac stuff, which we'll get into. Did you follow any of the Novo Nordisk? Any?
No, that's all I had heard, and I had not heard. I've been a very bad advocate this week.
You've been a person.
God, it's 2 jobs.
You're a machine. You're a machine every other week.
Yeah. But no, I was a bad advocate with Novo this week. Mostly because the 10 is 10ing and I'm exhausted. But yeah, but I had heard, I knew they were doing the studies. I didn't know it was approved, and I didn't know when it was going to come to market. So that's actually new. Look, you broke news with me. That's fabulous.
Hey.
But yeah, I think that this is just, and I think a lot of times we hear people say, oh, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. I don't think so, man. I think we're in the middle. Like we're at best in class at these medications at this point. You know what I mean? Like we're in the middle of this. This is 20 years of data at this point.
Yeah.
So I think it's just going to go up from here, but it does worry me about the plans, Dave. Like, so my company, I work for a big company, so they're self-insured, but we are offered a buy-it plan to include these things. Now, my company is also not all people are doing raises or anything like that. Like, and cost of living's insane. And I know my company has had layoffs like a lot of other companies too. So I don't know what that's going to mean for us in terms of benefits next year. So I have no idea next year if my medication is going to be covered or not, and I hope that it is. But if it isn't, then I will be side hustling my face off to make sure that I can afford to pay for my medicine and now my husband's as well, But the benefits thing is scary. And I think what people don't understand, because I get this a lot I get this a lot on my lives and everything. Why don't they just take Wegovy? Why do they have to take Ozempic and take it away from the diabetics? And the answer is because they don't have the coverage. And because it's fine to take something off label when it's the same medication, and that's okay. But that they don't understand that. They don't get that it's the same medication. They don't get that it's smoke and mirrors. They don't get that it's 0.5 or 0.4, higher. They don't understand any of those things. And that's the problem, is that, like you said, a lot of these companies are going to start making these cuts. Yep. But then they should offer a buy-up option. That's the thing. There should be people who can buy in and spend a little bit more. The company spends a little bit more. Everybody's still not spending a ton because everybody's sharing it around. But companies aren't doing that.
Yeah, but you're giving people the option. And I think for, like there's so many people who struggle with obesity, or the other things that they're doing testing for, like the
Yep.
heart disease test that came out
Yeah.
with the semaglutide this week, like the stuff for PCOS. Semaglutide's going head to head with metformin
Yeah.
over in Europe in a test for over PCOS, sleep apnea. What are some of the other ones? I mean, there's a whole handful of, call them comorbidities, or call them,
Yeah.
just other conditions that these help treat in people. And, I like the idea of giving people the option to kind of spread the burden around.
Yeah.
But I also think, again, I don't think I ever finished my point earlier because I'm an ADD person, but my whole
I
point
probably
is showing
interrupted
all
you.
the medicines that the other companies are coming up with. Like, we forget
Yeah.
sometimes that competition drives down price. And
Yes.
so when Novo has their version of Mounjaro, that, will probably perform similarly because it'll be a peptide acting on the same two
Yeah.
receptors, that puts Lilly in a position where they have to defend Mounjaro, and vice versa, So I think, the competition is a good thing, but in the meantime, and I do kind of take a different stance. Like, when you say we're in the middle, I still think like these things are going to get tweaked and honed over. Like, you look at
Yes.
retatrutide right now, or you look at like the acquisition that, so two big acquisitions by both Novo and Lilly in the past 2 weeks. We're getting
yeah.
we're getting so nerdy, but
Yeah, we are.
I knew this is what we were doing. That's why I was so excited for it. I was like,
Oh,
even if nobody watches, I'm
I
just so
speak
excited for it.
M&A. Let's talk about it.
So Lilly acquired that company that has that cancer treatment that is a monoclonal antibody that helps preserve muscle mass.
I'd like a
So,
little of that.
like, you look at
Yeah.
combining a GLP-1 with a a monoclonal antibody treatment that helps preserve muscle mass, and now all of a sudden you're answering some of the side effecty things, or
Yeah.
maybe unintended consequences of weight loss.
Yeah.
Like, you look at announced in the Novo Nordisk call this week, they announced that they acquired a company. It's like I'm not even going to hazard a guess, but they have a treatment that's apparently for chronic kidney disease caused by diabetes, nephrosis. Anyway,
Fancy.
but this medicine acts on the cannabinoid receptors, right? That's word
Yeah.
sounds familiar, right? So it acts on the
Yeah.
cannabinoid receptors, but people lose weight on that. And so, like, combining GLP-1 peptides with other medications that help enhance their benefit, I think that's when I say we're at the advent of these. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
there's so much more. Like Eli Lilly just acquired or made a major partnership with an AI company where they're going to be running, like, data through these AI machines that's going, all right, when we mix this and we mix that, what happens? What are the
Yeah.
outcomes? And
Fascinating.
so it's going to make the
Lily.
development
Oh, so
development
good.
of these medications with
Yeah.
the integration of AI. Like, you think
Yeah.
about all, like, Pfizer just abandoned their version of orforglipron. I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, because
But
it
they
wouldn't
just
it had good results, right? It was one of the ones
it
that
had good
right?
results, but that was the one throwing the liver off, right?
That's right.
So
Yeah.
then before you bring that to trial and spend $1 billion on it or $5 billion on it, and to get it to phase 3, I think it was in phase 3 or about to. I think they abandoned it at phase 2 and didn't take it to phase 3.
Wow.
But once you're through phase 2, you're billions of dollars into the development of that drug, right?
Right.
But now you have AI that has the potential to maybe offset some of those loser drugs. So you never start them to begin with, and now you can focus on the ones that have the highest probability of succeeding. And so,
Totally. Fascinating.
that's where I feel like we're at the advent, because the integration of all this stuff, the other medications, the AI, like, Lilly is so smart.
I've never seen anything like it.
It's crazy.
They're brilliant.
It's
I don't
crazy.
know. I don't know who's in charge over there, but they're doing something right. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's amazing. So that's what's fresh this week. How's that, folks? If you enjoyed that, put it in the chat. Let me know. That was we nerded out for a good long while there. So
and
thanks.
I'm known very much for my conspiracy theories on TikTok. So
Oh yeah. And trust me, you are talking to the conspiracy theorist guy himself. I don't let it out because I want to keep my YouTube and I want to keep my TikTok.
Yeah, I get it. Well, you can. Well, these days on TikTok, like, who even knows anymore? Some
Who
people can
knows?
say whatever they want and have no problems, and then
Right.
other people like don't. It's
Right.
crazy. I
Right.
tell you what I think it is. It's dirty code, but I won't do that here. It's another
You're a
conspiracy.
lot smarter than that stuff than I am.
I'm
So,
telling you, it's that's what it is. They had an issue. I'm telling you, it's got to be what it is. So like,
could be.
do you want? Can I nerd out real
Yeah,
quick
go
about
ahead.
it?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here's my not much experience. I have a little. So yeah, for a lot of app companies, especially if they build on like what's called Kubernetes or anything like that, they use containers to manage their images, and their images are like what the base file, the base things are that you do, and they build on top of that. So I think when they sent out whatever it was on July 5th, whatever the release was, I think there was something messed up in there. And that image they continue to pull from, right, as they're doing other things. And that's why those people continue to get banned over and over again, because they still have dirty code in the base image. So I think they have to go back and fix that, and they haven't done it yet.
So
And I think that's the problem.
let me put that
It
into
happens every 3 weeks, every sprint, every 3 weeks.
let me put this into like layman's terms. So
Yeah, sure.
you have a document at work and you make a photocopy, but you leave your finger underneath it, right? And so it spits out a copy, but it's got your finger on it, and you didn't mean to do that. Then you run that copy through the copy machine 100 times, it's still got the fingerprint on it. Is that kind of what you're saying?
That's basically what I'm saying. Yeah.
It's a copy of a bad copy, and it just kind of
Yes.
perpetuating itself.
And that is what developers do, right? Because if they not, then they're going to have to rebuild everything they make, like an app, like what those specifications are, but having them in containers where they can pull down the image and just use what's there. So if they're continuing to pull down crap, then crap makes crap.
This
right?
is kind of what I heard about. Oh, this is getting off topic, but this is kind of what I heard about like Facebook, why they've never like really been able to really grow into a platform that's like aesthetically better, algorithmically better, because the whole thing was built on crappy code, and then they exponentially grew, and they grew off that crappy code.
Yeah, I mean, literally, like in the beginning, their philosophy was move fast and break things. Like they were like, it's fine, we'll break it, we'll fix it later. I'll fix it later. Well, it's later.
Not always how it works. Right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Awesome stuff.
Sorry.
Well,
I'm a tech marketer, y'all. I'm sorry. Every now and then, I see correlations.
Sometime I want to talk to you more about that stuff.
We can
offline.
We'll do it on TikTok.
Maybe we should start our own like separate TikTok.
Yes.
Yeah.
Marketers. Yes.
This is
there aren't enough of those.
Absolutely. So let's move into the next segment of the night, which is going to be our we always take out like Thursday nights. Literally, I take out the trash. That's what I do on Thursday.
That's your
night.
time.
So
because it comes on Friday.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we come on the pen live, and we.
You need like a sound. Like
what's that?
You need some sort of sound, like a trash.
It does kind of have one in there. If you didn't hear it, it's like the smashing the garbage down sound.
Oh no, it doesn't. Maybe it's my headphones. I can't hear
it. It could be.
Anyway,
maybe it's just me that hears it every time. Everybody's thinking that. So all right, so let's talk about this. So like literally for the last, I want to say 3 weeks. This will be 3 weeks in a row that the trash that I've been taking out, so to speak, has been all around this gastroparesis thing, because it started with like some people who went on CNN, and then it got picked up by the other major media outlets, and it's like GLP-1s cause gastroparesis. So I came out and I'm like, it does. Like that's a mechanism of action of a GLP-1. It slows how fast your gut processes food. That's what it does. That's what GLP-1 does, the hormone. So gastroparesis or gastroparalysis really becomes an issue when you stop taking a GLP-1 and it persists. And that's what these people are claiming. And it's just a couple of people. Well, it has like blown up. And so the next week I came on and we talked about it again because what do we talk about it? I think the first week was because CNN picked it up. Then the next week it was like everybody had picked it up. So I just went into a deeper dive of like, what is gastroparesis versus gastroparalysis, and why is this a thing? And this is how GLP-1s work. But this week I had several people send me some stuff, and then all of a sudden I was hit with it. So I cannot go on Facebook right now or Instagram now without seeing an ad that looks something like this. Have you taken Ozempic or other similar medications and suffered any of these injuries? Gastroparesis, persistent vomiting, persistent nausea, persistent diarrhea, So like,
Jeez.
just, like these are side effects like that, so if you're having any of those, if you have a good medical provider, if you have a good doctor, your doctor should be going over these are the things to watch out for if you're taking this medication, right?
Yeah.
But also you should be aware also of the side effects. That's why you come here. That's why you go to the Plus SideZ and listen to the doctors talk about these, because it's just important to know, like there's normal reactions to these. Nausea is a normal reaction to GLP. Like almost everybody that takes this at some point experiences some level of nausea or fatigue
Yeah.
or whatever it may be. If you're puking, that's not normal. Talk to your doctor, right?
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I think what frustrates me about this is that it creates an unnecessary hysteria, right?
Yes.
And I think that the insurance companies love this. They
Yeah.
love this kind of stuff.
Love it.
They're probably paying for some of these ads.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so here's the deal. Like, there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people on these medications by now, right? Like, the amount of people that I hear anecdotally, I've got, between all my social medias, I have about 10,000 people that interact with me. And I have heard of serious things very, very few times. Very
Yeah.
few times.
Me too.
Like the risk, I think, is
Like
very,
maybe
very low.
5.
And so this is just a fishing expedition. Like, oh, I was nauseous on that. I'll sign up on this class action lawsuit.
Yeah.
I think it's a big money grab, personally. What are your thoughts?
Yes, all the things. Yeah, I mean, and I also think that it's I feel like every 3 months or so we get some sort of BS like this, and frankly, it's a way to control demand.
Yeah,
Anything that they can do to undercut this for whatever reason, you know? And there are plenty of people that want this to fail. There are plenty of people that don't want this medication out there, plenty of companies that want you to stay sick there because they sell you their medication that treats the thing that you have that's probably caused by what we're actually treating, more underlying causes. And I
right.
think that because of that, there's always going to be millionaires and billionaires that want to stay millionaires and billionaires. And so if they can find ways to drop crap like this out there and scare people from having their disease treated and they just can keep giving them, I don't know, metformin or something like that, then that's
Right.
what they're going to do,
Right.
And I think that's the case too, is like, I don't know if you do you follow Dr. Albert on
Oh yeah.
TikTok?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
So
recently. And I'm
yeah,
like, oh man, this
he's
guy's
fabulous.
awesome. Yeah.
He's awesome. Yeah. He just did a TikTok specifically about it. And actually, one of his patients comments and said, I had gastroparesis and I take this medication and it makes it better.
Mm.
Right. So, like, I guess they were type 2, they had it before. So it's like they're just spinning
It's
this
common with type
crap.
2 diabetics, right?
Yeah.
Gastroparesis.
Yeah. And from what I understand too, the 2 people that are bringing suit are type 2 diabetics.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're always going to have stuff like this. Like, that's the thing, is especially people that are misusing it. Like, that's going to be a thing, you know? And people that are taking it because they don't have any underlying conditions and they just want to lose weight. And that's fine. I don't care if you want to lose weight. If that's what you and your doctor decided on, a problem with that. But people who are like, don't know, right? They don't come and listen to our shows or anything like that,
Mhm.
Go ahead.
This is a really interesting point by Matt. He's always got a perspective that I really appreciate, and I think it's time. I've been like, Matt, you need to come on the show, but I think Matt just needs to make his own TikTok, make his own
Yeah.
YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But he said
Matt,
you got to
do
think
it.
about who this hurts, and he said Burger King announces customer base dropped this quarter. They've closed a ton of restaurants. Tyson Foods is announcing they're closing 4 plants. I mean, the economy's retracting, and so I think that's part of it. But at the same time, and some of the COVID subsidies are drying up as well. But I think that's a really good point to make. Like when all of a sudden the people who you have had hooked on these, really refined, highly processed foods, all of a sudden they're hurting, it just becomes this war, this Wall Street
Yeah.
war between
Wall
big
Street war.
food, big pharma, That's a very
Mhm.
interesting point to make. I didn't think
Yeah.
about that from that.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, that's what I was saying. There's so many different companies that are like that, and they're like, how do they strategize, right? Like, how do they figure out how to save their business, right?
Right.
And one of the easiest ways is the media and fear.
Yep.
It's one of the easiest ways.
Yeah. one of the things that I've been saying since I literally started making videos is like, they're coming for these GLP-1s. The media will come for
Yeah.
this. And I think like sometimes we put like media as the straw man. It's the people who pull the strings, right?
Yeah.
So the media is not ubiquitous. It's like it's the powers that be, and some
Yeah.
of those happen to control the levers of the media. But it's first of all, anything that's sensational gets clicks drive revenue. We're like,
Totally.
there's no shame in our game. Like that's what we're after too. When I post a
Sure.
YouTube video, I'm trying to get you to click on it and watch it. I want you to watch my content.
Yeah.
My content is monetized. I get paid for it. That's part of the game, right? But sometimes it's easier to grab people in with things that make them fear. And so that's part of it. But then the other part is that you really do, to Matt's point, have a Wall Street war going on between the major corporations of the world who are kind of at odds here, which is kind of an interesting angle to all of this that I didn't really think about before now. So that's cool.
Fascinating.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's the anything that you're hearing through the grapevine or through the lives that you're doing over on TikTok that maybe is a recurring theme that you hear where people just have something twisted around, just based upon either their a common presumption people have about GLP-1s or bad news that they have that you're constantly having to correct in your lives.
Yeah. I think that you've been in the lives. I think probably a lot of the things that you've talked about in here for sure. I feel like the gastroparesis has been a big thing recently. I hear a lot about the cancer, about the medullary thyroid cancer, and the rodents and like not understanding that, not understanding how rare that is. Like people are really pointing out these like very rare things, and I think what people don't understand is that, and I was in the situation. So I think now like I have a lot of like hindsight, right? Because even though I feel like this has gone well for me, there were a lot of bumps for me. And I think a lot of that is because I was scared because I was sick and my doctor said, you need to take this medicine because you're sick. And I was like, okay, and I only now I'm the person who will advocate for myself and go, why? You tell me why. Right. But I was not that person before, And so I think that what I'm hearing a lot is that people are going to their doctors, the doctors are prescribing it, and they're not really explaining that there are risks. There are these things because you should be weighing your history, right? And the data that's out there and the risk versus reward. And you should be a part of that discussion and conversation and be steering that with your doctor, because my doctor didn't do that with me. They just said I'm sick and then I needed it, So that's kind of, I don't know. That's what I hear a lot is really those are the two main things. And then also like nobody tells me what to eat,
Right. Yeah. What diet should I be on? The diet you can sustain. What exercise should I be on? The one that doesn't feel like exercise
what can you do?
can sustain. Right. And I'll dovetail on I've made a couple of videos about the medullary thyroid cancer because I do think it's important to note, because there were some with Byetta, which was one of the first GLP-1s to ever come on the market, which has a really interesting history to it, because Byetta, which is exenatide, I think it was one of the first GLP-1s, maybe not the first, but one of the first GLP-1s, which was found by researchers that found it in Gila monster venom. They found that people were getting bit by Gila monsters, were coming in with low blood sugar, so they explored it a little bit differently or a little bit deeper and found that it was a peptide that they could isolate and then make a version of it that helped bring people's sugars down. So just an interesting story there.
That's crazy.
But they've been sued, for people who have developed medullary thyroid cancer. And so it is a warning. And so I'm going to dovetail off that because I think it's important that if these things are occurring or if we know that it could be an issue, that we're tracking it. So I've had a couple videos lately. One of the pieces of information that was buried in the same releases on tirzepatide that the vial stuff was that one of the phase 4 trials that the FDA is requiring of tirzepatide is a 15-year study that tracks medullary thyroid cancer in the US, and that it creates a database And in that database of those who develop medullary thyroid cancer, how many started tirzepatide treatment prior to developing medullary thyroid cancer? I think it's really important to track that. But I also think it's really important for people to understand a couple of things. And this is a shout out to Michelle Hess, who is one of my moderators over here, who's kind of explained this to me before. There's two really important things to understand is and this is kind of what Michelle explained to me, is that, and I looked it up, right? So I've read about this as well. In the cells of a rat in their thyroid, they have a GLP-1 receptor that humans don't, right? So the working theory is that is what is causing rat thyroid cancer, right? They don't, none of the clinical trials have observed this to be an issue, right? Yeah. The other thing that's important is I read a study once about the rats that were tested with tirzepatide specifically. The rats, much smaller than a human, were administered 50 milligrams of tirzepatide daily.
Oh my God.
50 milligrams of tirzepatide daily. And that it was only in male rats that developed this thyroid cancer. Wow. Rats. So 50,
I knew it was a lot, but that's a lot.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. There's a super chat, Donna, with a $19.99 super chat. Thank you, Donna. Donna NP. So Donna is a nurse practitioner who is one of my favorite members of the channel here. Thank you, Donna, for that gift. You are so appreciated. Donna's got she's got the choice tonight of where this thing's getting plugged.
Okay.
This is a spent pen, so I'm gonna hand you the reins of the show for like 30 seconds when I go up and grab one.
Oh God.
You and Chrissy, how about? I think you and Chrissy, you and Chrissy might be a problem.
I don't know, it might be good. We'll see.
It definitely will be. It'll be a problem in a good way. Chrissy, are you around? Holler at me if you are, Chrissy. If you're not, that's fine too. So yeah, I think that it's important that we do track these things. It's important if we think it might be a risk to follow people, see how they do. But do I think that it's a real risk to people? It's likely not. It's likely not. But something to follow, absolutely. The black box warning on those is that if you have a family history of thyroid cancer, you should just probably be having your thyroid numbers monitored closer if you're on a GLP-1. Yeah. That's it.
Exactly.
But something to be aware of.
Yeah, and I think this is always going to be like evolving into knowing more things over the years. But I think what it came down for me, Dave, is it's like I don't know if I have 10 years. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm very sick. I mean, I'm better now, but I was just getting more and more sick.
Well, that's just the thing. Like we know that obesity is tied to like 16 different types of cancer.
Yeah.
At like an alarming rate, right? Yeah. And what we see over here is that these GLP-1s might have some sort of connection because of rats. But in every clinical trial, rats tend to respond differently than humans do. They're not the same, right?
Like the best thing we have.
There's a reason they call them guinea pigs, right? I mean, they are not human, but they're close genetically. Yeah. And so they feel like it, we're going to inject this thing with tirzepatide and it falls over dead. We know maybe we shouldn't keep moving forward with that one.
Yeah.
So
maybe we stop.
Yeah, maybe we just back off this one a little bit. Or reduce the dose.
Yeah. See what happens. I love that. Or maybe we just give them less. I love it. That's exactly what they think. Before they abandon ship or rat there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So first of all, I want to thank everybody who's joined so far. Thank you for those who are here. Thank you for the super chats. Always appreciated, never expected. But thank you, Donna, for the $19.99 super chat. She's got the choice. Let me know in the chat, Donna, where you would like that injection to go once we get to that point. Unless somebody edges you out, you got the shot. So thank you, Donna, for that. I appreciate that. Christy, you good? How you doing? Is anybody interested in hearing from Chrissy and how her Wegovy journey is going? So Chrissy is my cousin, Kim, and Chrissy has come on like, I don't know, probably about half of the episodes that I've done or more of On the Pen. She's a moderator here, but she's also just like, in addition to being my cousin, just a great friend. And she's a terrific person. And On the Pen, on the Wegovy pen. So kind of a quick background, like, both of us have struggled with our weight our entire adult lives. And when we got together at Christmas time, your boy was just going crazy about Mounjaro. I was like, I got a YouTube channel. It's a whole thing. It's like, you gotta, and I was spreading the gospel because that's what I do when I'm
I love
passionate.
it. Spreading the GLP-1 gospel.
That's right. Spreading the GLP-1 gospel. Healed.
You are healed.
So that started this whole thing where comes on the show, and it's fun. People enjoy it. And so we're going to bring her into the stream, and Chrissy, because she's so awesome, has her own bumper.
That's awesome.
The girl on the Govy. All right, Chrissy, you good? Hey, how are you? And Kim, you're free to go anytime. Like it's late. You're on the East Coast. That means it's
y'all got my second win.
The 10 is
second win. The
10
is 10, that's for sure. I'll dash if I feel like it start going like this. Like once I start schlumping, it's time to go. I want to hear how your journey is going. I really do, because I was on Wegovy and it changed my life. So I think it's a great medicine. I would love to hear how it's going for you.
It's going well.
Yeah.
If the summer would stop summering.
Yeah.
I just keep eating. And so but I thought I was having a really bad week food wise. And then I stepped on the scale on Wednesday and I was like, there's the lowest weight so far. It was just 1 pound, but I was
crazy, right?
Okay.
1 pound's a lot.
Listen,
1 pound looks like 2 sticks or 4 sticks of butter. That's a lot. Yeah.
But I'm like, if I can eat what I've been eating and I'm still down, not that I'm eating, I'm just not eating in excess, but I'm still eating what I want, which is probably not what I should, but I've just been so busy. I've not even had time to cook a proper meal for my family, these poor people.
Yeah.
So I was super excited.
This was one of the gifts that I feel like GLP-1s give to people who have struggled with obesity their whole lives, because if you've struggled with obesity your whole life, there's a very strong likelihood that your gut hormones are completely dysregulated. And that's what GLP-1s do, is they restore order to chaos in your gut.
Yes.
Your gut, and what they're learning about the gut brain connection, they're calling your gut your second brain now. I mean, because it's responsible for so many things that happen in your body.
Yeah.
One of them is controlling how full you feel. One of them is controlling, how long your stomach holds on to the food that you eat. And these are all things that impact people who are obese in a really big way, and in a way that people who are not obese and do not struggle with that can't really understand, because biologically they've never experienced it. But like Triplet Dad that was on last week said, I've never really known what this feels like to be full. And I think that, have I eaten a big Thanksgiving meal and been like, oh my gosh, I can't eat another bite? Yeah, of course. But that's so much excess. That's not something that I ever felt on a day-to-day basis, no matter how much I eat or what I eat. Only, in those times of great excess did I ever feel that. And so what Mounjaro has allowed me to do is eat normal people food as a diabetic without having, an emergency event, and eat normal people portions, because I feel normal people full when I eat a plate. It's given me this sense of normalcy. So like Chrissy, I think that's kind of what you're explaining is, hey, I'm eating what I want. And because and this is where Kim can preach, because your mind is so the same way mine is discombobulated from the diet culture, that you're like, I'm doing something wrong, but your body's like, no, actually you're not. Like, I just fixed something that was broken, and you don't actually gain weight when you eat moderate amounts of anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so true. Like I heard you say that, and like just things that I've learned like over on TikTok and like within our community over there is that we often will say things like what I should be eating, or bad foods or good foods, when actually foods have no moral worth, right? They have no moral value. They're just food. They're just an energy source, right? And you may make a decision of like one that's a little bit better, at certain times, like a better kind of fuel for you. Like my son, we were driving one day and I was trying to explain like food nutrition to him, and he's on the spectrum. So he's like, food is difficult for him because he's got a lot of like things with texture, and we have a hard time with getting him to like eat and really understand that. And he's 10. And I was trying to explain to him like, hey, it's cool if we have McDonald's, but we want to eat our protein first. Or it's cool if you want that, but you also need to eat like mommy's turkey taco at home because that's more nutritious. And I was trying to explain that to him, and I used the gas station. We were driving by it, and I was like, those fuel, that will all get you where you need to go. They will all get you where you need to go. They are just fuel, but there are some that are just better for a particular car and their body. And there's some that's better for you and your body. And he goes, Mama, that was really good. You should make a TikTok about that. And I was like, because that's the thing is like, and I think changing our mindset because we're able to, and knowing that fuel is it's just an energy source. You know what I mean? That's all that it is. And you deserve, no matter what, just because you have a disease does not mean that you don't get to have a rich, full life. You do. You get to do that. And if you're busy with your family and you eat a cheeseburger, then eat a cheeseburger. It's okay.
I'm just I'm just excited that I can't eat all the potato olays anymore, okay? Like I'm not eating like the whole 6-pack and the pound, like that's how I'm a binger.
Yeah, it's like a win, right? Yeah.
Right. I'm like, I just ate half a large potato olay and not a pound.
Yeah,
so like
totally.
That's
it's huge.
Extremely different. And I don't know about you guys, but my taste buds have changed like tremendously. And so we're like now trying to find food is like how when you just boredom eat and nothing sounds good, but you just want to eat because you're just bored. Yes. Now I'm like, I am hungry. I know I'm legitimately hungry and I need to eat because I haven't, and I'm just need to fuel my body.
Yeah.
But none of like the same things don't sound good, and sometimes a lot of the quick things that are, not as nutritious don't sound good, but I don't have like certain things on hand that I'm like, what, that would be great right now.
Yeah, my like quick on hand thing, friend, is any kind of rotisserie chicken that I like buy and I pull it off and keep it in Tupperware because I can make any recipe with that and like prioritize protein. And then if I want to have a cookie after, I have a cookie after.
My has to be in the fridge is cottage cheese, honestly.
Oh yeah, that's your thing.
It's
I haven't tried it yet. I don't know.
And I can make it sweet or savory depending on what I want. I can add fruit to it, or I can add pickles to it, or tomatoes.
Pickles, madness.
Oh,
madness.
Or sometimes if I'm indulgent, my guilty pleasure is Doritos, a little bit of ranch, and some shredded cheese. It's super weird, like pregnancy.
That actually sounds kind of good. I don't know.
It is really good.
Yeah. You prioritize protein every meal. It's winning.
Right?
Yeah.
And I've honestly started doing like protein shakes in my coffee, which another program that Dave and I actually both did got me on that. But like now I found one that's like 60 grams of protein and I'm like, yes, let's get that in the morning.
What's that one?
I know.
I'm going to need to know that.
Yeah, it's a red one, and it actually has the BCAA in it, which I feel like is important when you're not wanting to lose.
Is it like a meal replacement? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's
has to be
actually
with that
people
much
who
protein.
are like building muscle, like lifters and stuff. But it's just at Walmart. It's a red canister, and it's I wish I knew off the top of my head.
Does it taste okay? Because I'm not gonna lie, I do the protein shakes, but I only like Fairlife.
So,
but I can't find them. So now I'm on quest because I can't find them anywhere.
I like the Premier Protein. I like that brand. No, you don't like it? But see,
I don't like those either.
Like I love coffee, so I'm putting it in my coffee. So
I do
my cold brew coffee like super strong, and then so I want to taste the coffee through the shake.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
And then I've
got
lost
our host.
Oh,
he went to get a shot. That's what it is.
Yes,
he went to go get. He went to get a shot.
Have quite the coffee bar of sugar-free pumps.
Oh yeah, have you tried like the coffees that you can get that are just concentrate? Because then you're putting like this much coffee in like your protein shake, and then sometimes I will get like half and half, not half and half, like a whipped cream and heavy whipping cream, and I'll make cold foam. Yeah. And I'll do it like because I need the calories. Like you can't if you don't eat, you don't lose weight. Like they're glucose dependent. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Sorry, I always nerd out on this stuff.
No,
I'm like being too invasive. I'm sorry.
that I love. I actually, and that's a whole nother thing. I think I just love caffeine, and that's probably a huge thing. But I've gotten myself off the energy drinks until this week. I've had a couple more.
Yeah.
Because now I figured out and got the syrup to dupe the Scooter's prickly pear, and I just love it. And it's like, is it better to have the calories? Better to have the money in my pocket that I would be spending on Scooter?
Yeah, totally. I understand. The struggle is
I
real.
want my wallet fat, but I still want my waistline smaller.
Yeah. It's funny with the whole like weight loss thing. It's like I want all that, and that's all great. I do.
Right.
But I get so many benefits from this medication outside of the weight loss that I would, as long as it's safe, I'll take it forever. I'll take it forever.
I was thinking to myself, like, for some reason I was daydreaming at work, and I was like, if I only lost a pound a month, it would be 12 months in a year, or 12 pounds in a year. And I would not be mad at that. There's a lot of years where I've gained 25, so, or more.
Same. Yeah.
So like down 12, still a win.
Yeah, it is a win.
That's one of the things that I keep telling myself, is because people are like, I'm stalled out. I've been stalled for 2 weeks. I'm like, okay. I've been at the same weight for 4 months almost.
I had a 3 month.
When was Easter? Because Easter is literally the last time I lost weight. So
that was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a whole deal where I had to titrate back and all that stuff. So I think that made a huge difference for me, because I'm type 2 diabetic. I think, just anecdotally, if you're a diabetic, the studies already show that if you're on a GLP-1 and you lose a bunch of weight and you go off, it's very hard to not gain weight no matter what you do when you go off. If you don't gain weight, you're kind of an anomaly. Not saying it can't happen, because I've heard of plenty of people who don't, but most people do. The month that I was on 5, I think I gained almost 8 pounds, and I didn't do anything differently. Matter of fact, I was moving quite a bit more, because that month was the month that I said, I was like, I really got to move more this month because I'm titrating back. If I'm eating more, like I doubled my movement versus the prior month. Like I twice the amount of steps a day. And anyways, I think that, with completely
the benefits, that
additional
are not weight loss.
Yes.
Like not feeling like I need to go take a nap after the potato olays.
Yeah.
Like still having energy, or playing sand volleyball tonight and not like,
yeah, that's cool.
Bed right now.
That's like you being able to have a rich, full life, right? Like that's a big difference. Yeah.
Normal people activities, and not being.
You deserve to be able to do that. We're only here once. At least that's what I hear. I don't know. I may learn more later. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. These medications are changing people's lives. I mean, I think that's the bottom line. And
really
that's why we continue to advocate, continue to jump on here, answer questions. I mean, we don't do that so much on the pen, but like you and I both, Kim, do it almost on a daily basis.
Pretty much.
Answering questions, helping people, especially people that are just starting out, right? That just have so many questions that are like, I'm just starting. What can I expect? Or I want to get into this. Which medicine should I choose? Why is one better than the other? Those types of questions. And, that the point that I was going to make earlier was if you're a diabetic, right? The studies show that if you're not diabetic, and whoever you are, if you get off these, you gain weight. I think that what it'll show ultimately is if you're diabetic and you get off these, it's like exacerbated.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's
like the weight loss is slower. I think once you get off them, I think it hits you twice as hard too, because again, the metabolic stuff just comes back raging, right? My sugars came back raging. Even now with the 10 milligram, one of the things that I'm interestingly noticing, and somebody had mentioned this on a comment on one of my videos, is that they're concerned about GLP-1s. And I think this is like an interesting point to make. Like they were a really contrarian type of like, just, they were saying it kind of to be a jerk, which, people do, but I always try to like, put myself in those people's shoes. Like, do they have something of value to offer here? Because they're clearly passionate enough to take their time to comment on something that they don't care about.
Yeah.
So this person's point was they're afraid that people's pancreases are going to get used to the stimulation of GLP-1. And when you take the GLP-1 away, they're not going to know what to do without that extra stimulation of the GLP-1. And one of the things that I did notice when I went on the 5, it was like, if I deviated and ate any sort of carbohydrates, my sugars weren't dancing around 200 like they were before Mounjaro. They were up well over 200.
Yeah.
So, and that might be short-lived, right? Because eventually you may come back to your equilibrium, but I think there might be something to that. The other thing that was really interesting that I heard, not Dr. Albers, who's the other doctor who's always going live on TikTok, who's just awesome. He's in Manhattan.
There's a bunch.
Is he in?
That's Dr. Rosen.
Dr. Rosen. Yeah. You've had him on the podcast. Okay. So
3 times. Yeah. He's amazing.
You've had him 3 times. I've got to watch all 3 of those episodes because I really like
They're
them.
so good. The 5, the 5 is called Fat and Lazy. It's so good.
Okay.
And we geek out. Like, we talk about like how these were like reverse engineered from like what they learned from, because he's a bariatric surgeon, right? What they learned from bariatric. It's super geeky. Go.
I have to watch that one because that's really what sold me on. Hey, these Janine's here. Another member of the
JT
of the Plus SideZ podcast, right? Panel.
Yes.
And a longtime follower of Man on the Mounjaro. And a guest. She was on here just the other night.
Yeah.
Or the other week.
She did such a good job. Real quick. Can I just brag on her real quick?
Please,
she did so good. She is an obesity, and I'm sorry, she is an obesity and like type 2 diabetic advocate. That girl's got it going on. She did such a good job. I was like, oh my God, you're so good. Like, I knew she was good, but like seeing her like not on our show, and where like I wasn't running over her all the time because her internet sucks so much. And like, I was like, you're so good. We need to fix your internet so I don't run over you, because it was so amazing. That's
awesome.
Sorry.
I don't know if it was
Big
on my
shout out,
show
GT.
or on one of her lives that she was doing on TikTok, but she's like, I think it was you that was like, you just need to go live, just do it. And she was afraid to go live. I'm like, you?
Yeah.
How's that work?
I was like, we're just doing it. Come on. I just texted her that night. I was like, we're doing it right now. Come on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so
and then
awesome.
she's been doing it ever since. She's a rock star.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
So welcome, Janine. Thanks for being here. Again, ADD mind. What were we talking about? Somebody? Chrissy's ADD. You can't help me.
Yeah.
Are you ADD?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is a bad combination.
Someone in the chat. Where
what were we talking about? Matthew, what were we talking about?
Anyone?
What were we talking about? No, this has been a great conversation. It is always so fun to talk to other people that are as passionate about this. Honestly, it's hard to find. Like, Kim, it's hard to find people who are as passionate about a topic that they'll just devote like all of their extracurricular time. We're talking Brent. We were talking about Dr. Rosen. Yeah. Dr. Rosen was saying something super interesting. You said on the podcast, and that as far as like bariatric surgery, and that was what got me interested in GLP-1s. Brent, you're a lifesaver. And with the bariatric surgery, what my doctor said, because I was basically, he had me exploring bariatric surgery prior to even mentioning the word GLP-1 to me. Yeah. And I didn't have coverage for obesity on my insurance. And so he's like, well, here's the deal. There's this new class of medicines, but they're super expensive and they're hard to get. They're hard to find. But basically, and this is the way my doctor, and then I want Kim, if you can just either validate this or tell me what Dr. Rosen had to say, because he's awesome. He said he'd come on too, by the way. Like, I was in his,
should definitely do
live,
that.
and he's like, let's do it in September. So I need to reach out to him.
Yes.
But the way my doctor explained it was, he's like, what we've always thought about bariatric surgery is just what's obvious. Like, you make the stomach smaller, people eat less, they lose the weight. And he's like, and that's true to an extent at first. He said, but what really ultimately happens is that your gut hormones are restored. And all of a sudden, what was dysregulated in your gut hormones gets restored, and you're making more GLP-1, you're making more glucagon, you're making more of these hormones that are responsible for making you feel full. And that's why there's sustained weight loss with this for a lot of people, is that they're able to basically restore these hormones. And that's basically what these are doing it's like basically bariatric surgery in a shot. And I think as they get better, that they will, that little one-liner will become more true.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what he had to say, or did he say something totally different?
No, like you're on track. He said it more like he was talking specifically about, sorry, my booty's been sitting here all day. It's like, Kim, get off your butt. He does say very similar to that. He kind of says gut hormones, but he does talk about like the glucagon, right, specifically, and then the glucagon like peptide, the GLP-1, and he breaks it down from like what it looks like when he does a sleeve, what it looks like when he did a lap band, what it looks like when he does in Fat and Lazy, and then what he does when he does a full gastric bypass, and then what they learned based on like what would happen to people and how that was like almost curing diabetes before they even left the hospital. Like they were off insulin before they even left the hospital when they would get these surgeries. And so then they were like, we should research this further. And then we're able to basically reverse engineer that whole thing, right? To be able to create this, that people would feel the same type of feeling, right? And the same satiety that they felt when they got the surgery. So now there's some people, and that's what's good about Dr. Rosen, is like he'll prescribe a GLP-1 or he'll do surgery. It just depends on the person and what they need. You know, if they've already had surgery, he'll prescribe it, maybe because they need a little bit extra, like Rosie, right? Or maybe they, want to do something like triple dad, like they need to get to a certain weight to have possibly better success with the surgery, right? That kind of thing. And I'm speaking for him. I don't know his plans. I'm just saying, I know he's been talking about it lately, but yeah, so that's what he says, is like he really breaks it down. He nerds out pretty good.
What I really thought was good, because I've made several friends along this journey who are like, somebody once said to me, like, that person is like Discovery Channel big. Like they like when you watch the shows like 600 Pound Life. I don't know if anybody watches that. 600 Pound Life was like really integral to the start of this GLP-1 journey to me, because I was really watching that show obsessively, because I was like, there was a part of me that was like, this is the track that I'm on. How did these people get here? I want to know more about how these people got there, because I feel like those are the rails that I'm on, and I don't know how to get off them. I can't. Everything I did, like, it didn't matter how hard I tried, because I on my journey, when I was diagnosed type 2 diabetes back in 2021 in the fall, I was like, I'm going to do anything I can to become not diabetic and not overweight. Like, just please tell me. And my doctor was like, well, you're diabetic. You need to reduce your carbohydrates. That'll bring your insulin levels down. You bring your insulin levels down, your weight will come down. And I believe in all that science, but the thing that happened with me is I brought my diabetes into remission within a year of being on strict keto, but my weight went from 319 to 312. Yeah. In that year. And I was like, so I'm watching my 600 Pound Life, and I'm like, it doesn't matter what I do. I've done a year of everything I've been told to do. This is my future. What were these people doing? How does that true up with my life experience? Because I feel like this is a track that I'm on. So anyways, what I really appreciate about what Dr. Rosen has to say for those people, if you're the type of person who's watching this, and with as many people as see these, there's certainly some, because they've been on the show before. If you're 700 pounds, if you're 600 pounds, if you're 500 plus pounds, these GLP-1s are really great to help get you down to the level where you can get that surgery. Then we can be safely operated on. You let the surgery do what it does. And then once the surgery effects kind of wear off, the GLP-1 can help you maintain. And that's what I heard in Dr. Rosen's live the other day. And
yes, it talks about that on the same thing on episode 5. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's nice that they have like multiple options now, and then I think like even what Roby said, she's like, you do what's available. You're sick, so you do what's available. Right. And for the longest time, it was just gastric bypass, or even before that, it was just Phentermine or whatever. But now I think they're able to come at it from several different ways, and it depends on the person's body, because not everybody's body is created equal. Right. That's why no matter how much they threw diet and exercise at your body, Dave, and it wasn't moving, because you have something going wrong on the inside.
Right.
I remember a post that Dave made that said, so does 600 Pound Life like contact you, or do you contact them? Like, how does this work?
That sounds like something he would say.
I remember like laughing so hard, but like that at the
Love it.
same time. Like,
Yeah.
I definitely, like, I think for the same reason that you used to watch it, I used to avoid it
Yeah.
because I'm like, I just don't.
It's like I
wanna
can't watch the
pretend.
Hoarder show because I know. I just,
If you open that door behind Kim, she is
can't.
just gonna get inundated with
You would
old
not
time
eat it.
magazines.
You think it's
Buried.
bad. It's real bad. The closets are OOC.
If you saw the other side of this camera and not my green screen, you would be like, I can't talk to you anymore.
I can
I mean,
tell you
this room is our shame.
Yeah.
But
It's
does
like there's
the
a Christmas tree
doctor-
laying on the ground in front of me, a lamp laying
Oh
sideways.
no, I used to have that too. I had my Christmas tree up till like March. So, but it's gone now. I feel like a winner.
To be fair, this is our storage room. It's just not organized.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So does that doctor talk about, like, there's a reason that they do certain procedures as far as like
I'm
the
sure he
gastric
does.
bypass, like the Roux-en-Y?
I'm sure he does. You need to follow him on TikTok and
Yeah.
probably has he talked about that on the Plus SideZ yet?
Yeah, he didn't say like we do this when, like
'Cause,
in
like,
terms
the
of use case,
sleeve-
which is what I think you're asking. Like he wasn't like, he was just saying like this is what we do, and based on the person in general. But honestly, that's a great idea for another episode.
Right.
And I
Well, because
love Dr.
the
Rosen.
sleeve, like they take
Yeah.
off that part because there's like a yeah, I'm not as smart as
He
you
does
people.
specifically talk about like how it's done and why they do it on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Because it
but he
gets
also
rid of
says
that.
yeah, because like well, he also does lap band, or has in his career. And like I had lap band surgery in 2007. And so I asked him on the show, I'm like, what, did you have it? Yeah, I had it.
Still have the
Yeah.
the band.
I still have it. Yeah. I still have it.
Okay.
Yeah. I haven't had any issues. So
Yeah.
and I have a very high
I'm
BMI. So
originally
doing
a surgery
surgery.
nurse. So
Yeah, well, it's like doing surgery like doesn't make sense unless I'm having problems, right? And I don't have problems. If anything, I kind of think it helps with the GLP-1. But I gained on my weight back eventually after I had my son, and then some. And now I'm smaller than I was in college before I even had the lap band or anything like that, But I asked him about it, like, hey, with the lap band, like, I did gain it back, and like there was no way that I was ever going to go to my doctor and say I have BED, and I have a lap band. Although it is evident that something is going on because I've gained my weight back, right? And he was like, but you didn't have the tools, Kim. And I was like, well, I guess I just always thought like it didn't matter how good I was in my career or all of these different things where I excelled because I couldn't control my food. And he was like, but you didn't have the tools. Like your body that's all we had. And people that talk to you about getting that lap band surgery, like all of the language that you're using with me is somebody that wants to do a band. And they sell the, hey, you can take it out later if you want to kind of thing. And, hey, it's going to be okay. And he's like, so they didn't do what was best for you. They did what was best for them, which is an easy, quick lap band procedure. Right. And he was like, so that's the difference. Like with him is like, it depends on the human.
Was this what Rosen said?
Rosen said, yeah.
So this tracks with what, like, randomly the live that I was listening to, somebody had asked about a hernia surgery, and he gave a very similar answer. He's like, that's because most doctors do this because it's easy, and they're afraid their patients talk them into it because their patients are afraid of this or this, but they got to do mesh because if they don't do mesh, then it pops right back out.
Yeah, I watched that one. Yeah, and he was like showing it. He like demonstrates it.
He's he was like hands. Paper and the whole thing, and I was like, I really, really, really like this guy.
He's wonderful.
I mean, it is like, I feel like to find, first of all, I was like, okay, so this guy's a doctor. He's in New York City. He's busy. He's got little kids. He's preparing for this big trip to have his daughter's bat mitzvah in Israel. And and he's spending.
Oh, are they going to Israel? That's awesome.
Yeah, that's what he said. That's in I think he said they're going in September or in October because he wants to do this show in September, which I was just thrilled that he was so willing to do it. And
he just wants
after listening to his live for a little while, I was like, this is because this guy just loves what he does. And it's so hard to find doctors that are so passionate about people and helping people and like getting to know people on a personal level. I'm like, he's giving the last hour of his day to a live on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
I'm commenting and trying to be like there because there's like 500 people there. And I'm like, hey, I'm here too. But, as one does.
Have any of these doctors brought in anything in regards to mental health and the GLP-1?
Yeah.
Because I
go to my show.
seriously,
I talk all about it on the show.
Listen, I got to get off the serial killers. I went down a
Listen.
rabbit hole.
Oh my gosh, I
and
don't even do that anymore. I used to be obsessed. Yeah, with true crime, and now it turned off like a switch.
July
Gone.
14th, it all started over again because then they
Ugh.
arrested the list.
Yeah.
And now I'm back in it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I gotta tell you, I don't know. It really does help. The mental health thing has been huge for me, girl. I'm telling you, it's like
My
I'd stay out
doctor
forever
looked at
just for
me.
that. Yeah.
My doctor looked at me and she was like, "You look good. Wegovy looks good on you." Like,
It does look good
she
on you.
didn't
Yeah.
mean you look skinny. She's like,
No.
"You are happy."
You could, and because you were sick and now you're getting better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like that's really what it comes down to is a sick person needs medicine. What the hell?
I have a very good friend who has a lot of mental health concerns, and I have spent time on the phone with her, talking to her, telling her, "Girl, I promise this is going to be a huge thing in the way of that.
Yes.
I guarantee you shut off that other noise and you can deal with the other thing."
So real quick, would both of you identify as people who have struggled with mental health in some capacity?
Oh yeah,
100%.
Okay.
Yep.
So could and both of you have used semaglutide?
Yep.
Okay. So could you just talk and we won't belabor this and we'll get off here in a couple minutes, but could you both of you just kind of talk to, like, there's a lot of like fear mongering out there about, you know, the suicide stuff. And like, I share everything on my channel. If it's news, it's news. Sure. And I think people need to be aware, but like, what are your experiences as people who both identify as having struggle with mental health issues, both battling obesities and or issues that arise from that condition? Like how was your experience with semaglutide, or is your experience in light of all that?
Yeah, I talk really openly about this because I think it's important. I'll give you a rundown. If I talk too long, you just tell me. Okay.
No, go
So when I was in college, I was assaulted, and it was very traumatic for me. And when I went to the Student Center, the lady asked me what I was doing in a bar, and it wasn't my fault that somebody put something in my drink. And there was a whole lot of trauma that went around all of that. And instead of actually helping me work through the trauma as a 19-year-old girl, they just put me on medicine, and they diagnosed me as bipolar because I had too many mood swings. And I took this medicine and I gained 100 pounds like that. Wow. And during all of this time, that's what the medicine did. If I had been able to take another one off label, I probably wouldn't have gained the weight. We may not even be here, but that's what happened to me, is that's what they did. So, but nothing ever really fixed it. And other than time and therapy. And what I kind of sort of realized when I was on this medication is I also had, like, one thing I've never been able to fix is I had crippling, debilitating, obsessive anxiety. I would unwind my day in my head at night and think about everything I said in a meeting and what my facial expressions, like my hand movements, what my tone was, and how I would do it differently. Why? The day's over. That's just the first part, right? And even though I knew that, I couldn't stop. And then I would hold in all of these like worries that I would have about things that are way in the future or like probably not even possible. It was like going from like point A to point Z and like worrying about everything. And I would hold it all in, and then I would download with my husband or like some of my very close friends. And I could see the expressions on their face as they were trying to support me. And I could see them, but they knew I was being ridiculous. But they were trying so hard to support me, and I couldn't stop. And I'm telling you, I hit 3 milligrams of Saxenda because that's how I started. And it went off like that. It was the most legitimately, that's how I became an evangelist. Okay. Because as soon as that happened, I was like, this has been the whole thing all the time. This has been it. This has been the problem, right? The thing that I just plugged the hole, right? That, because everything else righted itself. And I have had no problems with this at all. So obviously I'm not saying don't take your medicine or you've been misdiagnosed or anything like that. But I am saying, like, when you go to a mental health professional, you're telling them your symptoms. They aren't doing blood work. They don't know what's going on in you. They have no idea, that you come in, you tell them your symptoms, and they make their best educated guess because of what they've learned. They don't really know. And so I feel like that we have to consider that, because I think there are a lot of people that may have been misdiagnosed because maybe their body just wasn't working right, because I have always been obese. I have always been like this since I was 8. I have had an eating disorder since I was 8, and this just all just continued to grow and worsen until my health became at risk, And I think that's why I get so excited about it. And I have not had anything like that. And I did go through a very stressful time recently with my dad's sick, and my sister is sick. And I had like sort of some thoughts come up, and here was the difference. I could gear shift. So when I would start to worry and obsess and get upset, I would go, is there anything I can do about that? Then I'll go, no. All right, let's move on then. And I have never been able to gear shift like that before, not one time my whole life. So it's incredible. Like I can't wait to see what the studies are, because I will be right there. Because I'm so excited to think about how many people that could help, because I know there are other people that have felt that way. And that's why I feel like I have to talk about it, because I know there are people that have gone through, especially like women who have gone through trauma. Trauma can looks like something like that, So anyway, I'm pretty candid about it. So
do you think that it's exclusive to women who have gone through trauma?
I don't think so.
Or just there's not a lot of guys that are out there like, this is the trauma I've been through. And like,
no, there's not.
Women tend to be more courageous in facing that stuff. Men tend to
there's a lot of shame. And I have plenty of men that I know in my life that, because I don't want to like air their business.
Right.
That has been a very big shame. And I think that's a lot around like our culture. Right. And I think men are supposed to be like this, I don't know, pillar of strength, and I think that's a big problem.
Yeah, I think, I don't know that it's a big problem to view men as pillar of strength. I think it's how you define strength.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think it is. Right? Yeah.
I think for men, it takes a tremendous amount of strength to acknowledge weakness.
I think so too.
I think it's all in how you frame it. Because, my children are more comfortable when daddy's home. There's something to that, right?
Yeah, there is.
What is that? There's a point where that mentality becomes toxic, right? But at the risk of going off on a tangent, and I won't, I will just say,
you knew when I came on here we were going to tangent.
For sure. That's why I wanted you to come, because I am a tangent
evangelist
man. I think that as to kind of bring it all back and wrap it up in a pretty little bow, I think this is what makes Eli Lilly especially unique in their existence, not even in the marketplace, but just in existence. Because I think if you look at Eli Lilly and the two, so what we said at the beginning of this whole thing was there's this gut brain connection that they're starting to identify, right? So you took Saxenda and it did something in your brain.
Yes.
That you went, whoa, that like
Dr. Rosen says it all comes down to the brain. It's a brain disease.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. And so there's this connection. And what are they saying about Alzheimer's now?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that it starts in the gut. There's this gut brain connection. That's why there's studies being done right now with semaglutide and early onset Alzheimer's, and how it inhibits the development of amyloid plaque in the brain, which causes what Alzheimer's does. Right. Eli Lilly is really, really, really big in three things technically, if you throw the cancer stuff in there, but two things mainly are the driving force behind the future of Eli Lilly, and that is Alzheimer's research and obesity research.
Yeah.
And I think that there's just something to it. And I think it'll be very, very, when I say that we're at the advent of all this stuff, there are connections that are yet to be made. And I'm, this is the part of me when people come in and they come after Lilly, or they come in and they come after the system, I'm just as frustrated that we as Americans, have to foot the bill of the development of these medications so that the rest of the world can enjoy them for free, basically.
Right.
I'm just as frustrated at the greed that exists at the core of some of the people that are behind, some of the big pharma companies, or some of the, provide the payers, the insurance companies. But at the end of the day, the development of these medications doesn't happen without that. And so I'm caught in this dichotomy of like being thankful and grateful that these medications have been existed, and that there are companies like Eli Lilly out there that are at the forefront of figuring all this stuff out, that's helping to fix what's, biologically broken. And so yeah, I find myself kind of frustrated and wanting to kind of bang my head against the wall sometimes with people and going like, I understand you're frustrated, but like you're putting that frustration in the wrong place. Like you're angry about a drug that was developed by a company that you're saying is greedy, but at the same time, the greed that you're saying exists is what caused the development of this drug that you want in the first place. So like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. It's just a weird,
it makes total sense. I mean, I get that a lot with food. People are like, well, it's the food that's the problem. And I'm like, well, no, it's your body and how it's responding to the food that's the problem. And I think that's like what I hear a lot, like, is that, I think that the connection of like, well, they're just making drugs and they were the ones that made us sick, and all of the food and the FDA and blah, blah, blah. And that's great. Like, if we're going to figure out the food so that like our children or children's children or whatever, they're going to be able to figure it out. Awesome. But right now I'd like to live my life. So if there's medicine to treat me now, then like, I'm on board with that.
Right.
I want it for everybody.
And I love, I think one of the coolest parts of this whole stream has been when you talked about your conversation with your son about nutrition, and how, buddy, there's better fuel for some people and better fuel for other people, better fuel for some cars, better fuel for other cars. It's not cookie cutter. And then also just echoing what we've said a lot on this channel, and that there's no morality attached to a food decision, right? And that at the core, there's something that's biologically broken that needs to be fixed. Now, I think my personally held belief is that I think that it's like a 3-pronged approach. Like, there's the mind, the body, and the spirit, right? So there's things, whether it be trauma that has hardwired our brains to do certain things and our bodies to react certain ways. There's the body where, eventually you become metabolically broken, and medicine can fix that. But then there's the spirit, because, we all have a spirit, and there's things that we know that we have to do within ourselves, like things that, regardless of the trauma that's happened to us, regardless of the biology that affects us, there's still something that yearns within us to like, I have to do this for myself. And that's the spirit side of it. And I think they all three have to be addressed to really combat this. And I think the one that has been neglected has been this biological one. I think most people acknowledge their spirit. They acknowledge the behavioral side of things.
Totally.
But it's like the biology that even me didn't understand until I really got to understand how GLP-1s work, and how what incretin hormones were, and like how that all becomes dysregulated and messed up. And so there's no shame in fixing what's biologically broken. There's no shame in fixing what's mentally broken, whether, that's through therapy or whatever, or spiritually broken, whether that's through, more traditional, like religion. Like for myself, I'm a Christian. I love Jesus. The core of my spirit is not well unless I am following what Christ wants me to do. And that's, for different people that means different things. I understand that there's a very diverse group of people watching this, but there's a mind, body, spirit connection when it comes to battling this disease. And it's so exciting to be talking about the biological part of this side, but to be kind of addressing some of the other sides. And I feel like that's what you do really well, Kim, on the Plus SideZ podcast, is you kind of view this thing from a 360-degree view. And I appreciate that about you and the Plus SideZ podcast. If you do not follow the Plus SideZ, please make sure that you follow the Plus SideZ podcast. Make sure that you find her over on TikTok. The handle that she has there, next to her name, Kim at DMF, Kim on Mounjaro. That's going to be her TikTok handle.
It's this one.
If you're thank you. Oh, I never know which way to point because everything's back in a mirror. but make sure that you follow her. I really, really, really appreciate you being here tonight, Kim, and giving. I know that the 10 is 10ing, life is life. TikToking is TikToking. Like, you and I think are understand uniquely like what it is to balance this pull of like feeling a sense of obligation to the community.
Yes.
But also the obligations to our lives, our families.
Yes.
And I don't know about you. I mean, I know that you have a loving family, and I have a adoring wife who's got big life changes going on right now. I was just gone for 36 hours. She's like never batted an eye at me doing this because she knows how important it is to me, but she's like on her deathbed sick right now. She's got her own chronic illness that she deals with. She's had rheumatoid arthritis, and she was 10 years old. So the medicine she takes makes her very susceptible to being sick, and our whole family's sick right now. And I was gone. And so, thank you. Cause I think I just, uniquely, we understand, what we're going through. Christy, thank you for being here and sharing part of your journey. Always being willing to come on. And even in the throes of summer where it's like time to kind of relax. I'm glad that that Wegovy is helping you to kind of find, some help, I was just, Christy and I spent a good bit of time talking on the phone today on my drive back home, and, like the volleyball that you're doing and just like loving life. Right. And Wegovy is kind of something that's just fitting into that and like helping in the background. But yeah, it's just awesome to share our stories here. It's good to have all of you in the chat. Thank you for everybody who joined. Make sure that you like, and comment, on this once we end this. And then your next bit of homework is to go over and follow Kim at the Plus SideZ podcast over here on YouTube. If you're on TikTok, DMF Kim on Mounjaro. Chrysanthemum, Chrissy is over here with that same handle on YouTube. So make sure.
Oh, that's what it is. Chrysanthemum. I was trying to like, wait, is it Chrysanthemum? I get it now.
Yeah.
Cute.
Chrysanthemum. She's got also her Instagram, which is Boredom Made Me Do It. She's a crafty little thing. What else you got? I don't know what your TikTok is. I don't know that you do much over there other than send me funny.
I haven't made a TikTok in a long time.
Madness.
I just share them.
I'll be sending you a message.
Yes.
We'll fix that. I'll just be like, hey, we're going live.
I have enough friends to go live or followers to go live, which is crazy.
We'll do it together. We'll talk about Wegovy
before.
I'll help you. We'll do it together. We'll talk about Wegovy.
Awesome.
It's hard to go back after that, though. I'm not going to lie. I get a lot of people hooked that way.
I love it.
Thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yes, this has been fun.
It's been such a good conversation.
This has been everything I hoped it would be, even though you and I both have had a week. I know, Chrissy, like it's been, you've had so much life going on too, that it's been hard for you to make this work. I'm glad that you were able to too. Like, of all the weeks that I could have just phoned this one in and replayed an old episode, like tonight was the night. But I'm glad we did it. I thank everybody who joined in the chat here, even though we can't keep up. I always go back during the week at some point. I rewatch, I read the chat. I really, really appreciate it. And I will shout out, like Vanessa, you're always so active in the chat. Donna, you're always so active in the chat. Themby, thank you. There's so many people who join in here that after the fact, I'm like, man, I really wish that I could have thanked them in the moment. Sue the dude, who's the moderator, always contributing. So thank you all for being here. You're the best part of what I do at Man on the Mounjaro. Thank you, Chrissy. Thank you, Kim, for being here tonight. We'll do it again sometime. I'd love to do the Plus SideZ again sometime. If you ever need a guest host or somebody to fill in,
I will.
Let me know. I love it. I love what you're doing over on TikTok. Chrissy, have a great week. Thank you for being here. And we will invite you both back whenever you want to come. Open invitation. Just let me know.
All right. Thanks so much, Dave. You guys have a great night. Bye.
Take care. Oh my goodness. This was a fun one. Thank you so much for sticking with us tonight. I appreciate each and every one of you. Donna, I owe you a shot, but I don't know if you're still here. Where am I putting this thing, Donna? Where am I putting this thing? Please don't make me take my shirt off. I'll have to go off camera for that for sure. But yeah, you can let me know where I'm plugging this thing tonight. It was a pleasure to have you all here tonight. You're all so wonderful. You're the best part of what I do at Man on the Mounjaro. If you're not a subscriber here, if you're new, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Thank you for those who became members tonight. Members of the channel keep this thing going. Really, honestly, I couldn't do this without the members. They help support all the things that I have to, all the costs that I have to cover to keep this thing going with the graphics and the live streaming. And some night we're going to get back to taking live calls, probably after the summer subsides and I can get my feet underneath me a little bit. It seems like this is a little bit easier to do in the winter time in Iowa than it is in the summertime with all the things that go on. So yeah, Donna, if you don't let me know in the next 30 seconds, then, abdomen. All right. Perfect. I missed it. Sorry, Donna. Thank you, Donna, for being such a awesome contributor here. And thank you for the ways that you have supported me. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate you. Going right in the abdomen, going above the belly button tonight. I've heard that is helpful for some people. So I'm going just slightly above the belly button. Dunzo. All right. Thank you. Let's see how right above the belly button treats me. I'll report on it next week. Thank you for those who followed me. There's lots of really good videos from this week. If you didn't catch the first part of this stream, lots of news broke this week. I did videos on all of them. Go back and check them out. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you for being here tonight. It was a pleasure. Thank you to Kim. Thank you to Chrissy. You are the best part of what we do here at Man on the Mounjaro. I can't say that enough. I so appreciate each and every one of you who join here every week faithfully on Thursday night to cover all the news. So thank you. And until next week, we'll see you again. Enjoy your week on the pen.